Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning. I'm, as always, excited to get with you today. Come on in. Say hello when you get here. Welcome to Vibrational Leverage, you guys. Today is going to be a good day. So I am just seeing who's in the house. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, good. Hi, Kara. Good morning. Hi, Lori. Hi, Patricia. Awesome. Hi, Jen. Hello, hello. Good morning. Hello, hello. So, oh my goodness, I have, as always, good things in store today. Um, a couple weeks ago, I was on my morning walk and I just felt this incredible nudge to come and talk about vibrational leverage. And, it's funny because I'm just like, nobody, no, Lori, nobody wakes up saying, boy, could I use some vibrational leverage today? Um, but we do wake up feeling like I feel stuck. I feel like things aren't moving fast enough. I feel like I'm not even really, using the philosophies or the frequencies or the frameworks that are available to me as the creator of my reality. And so I'm feeling into this as I'm walking, and it just started to feel like just a download started. And it's been a week. Actually, it's been 2 weeks of downloads. And so first I said, let's talk about three things, or, three things that are going to help you, tap into the energy of having that true vibrational leverage. And I want to get to really what that feels like in a second. Um, but then all of a sudden it morphed into 6 things, and then I've got 12 things, and then there's 15 things. And I'm just like, I'm here to say that the work that we do, whether we are living our life via the cusp equation, or we're in the M100, or we're participating in, any kind of personal growth, really is creating leverage. It is creating leverage. So I have these like energetic leverage points that I personally love to talk about, and I personally think um, create more ease, more flow, more effortlessness. And you're going to hear me talk about a lot of that today. But I want to land here today, and I want you to walk away with like 5 really, really juicy points, that keys or secrets or philosophies or frequencies. I want you to walk away with like 5 really good points to land on so that you can create more leverage in your life. And what's interesting to me is, I know you guys have been around me for a long time. Some of you are, there'll be a few of you are new to me. But what I know is that some of this is going to be framed a little differently than I normally would frame it. And as things morph around and I answer the call of like my own light work, sometimes my guidance is like, we need to say it, we need to feel into it, we need to angle in this way, because I will stand by this. We are divine crystalline creators. And when you look at any crystal, it has many different facets. And so not only are we have all these facets of ourselves, but the work has many facets. The universe and all of its divinity has so many facets. And when we're looking to line up with our most powerful selves, as we're going to talk about, we look at like, what facet am I shining today? What edge am I shining today? So today we're going to talk about things in a little different fashion, because that's how it came through to me. And I feel it, I can hear it. I wanted to get on the head of a pin with you. I wanted to get on the head of a pin with you today about creating leverage. So when I say leverage, what do you guys feel? What do you think? What comes up for you? Vibrational leverage. You're like, give me some of that, because what I think you think. My idea of that is that it's a way to make manifestation, or it's a way to make your becoming easier, like using what's in front of you, right? So maybe a month or so ago, there was a big dump of snow, And Tim had left for work. It was, 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And Jacob and I walked out at 7:30, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, it snowed so much." And so he's like, "I think I can get through this." But the plow had come through, and so he barrels his car down the driveway, knowing that we didn't have a lot of time to, snow blow or shovel or anything, and he gets stuck. And so I was like, "Oh no," right? So it's me and Jacob. I'm hoping that I don't have to call Tim. And all of a sudden, I'm like, he's not gonna get out. He rocked that car back and forth, he spun the wheels, he did all the things, which is sometimes how we feel when we are creating our realities. We're doing all the things. And so he said, "I don't think we have any sand," you know? And all of a sudden, this light bulb went on, and he said, "Mom, I think Tim has a bucket of salt." And we do. We had this big bucket of salt in the garage, and it didn't even cross my mind. But all of a sudden, he's like, "Whoa!" And so he went and got the salt, and he stuffed it under his wheels, and he got out. And for all practical purposes, that's a really good example of leverage. It's like using the resources right in front of you. And you might have said first, "Well, what about a shovel?" Well, we tried that, and that shovel didn't do the thing. And so it was like, what else is available to me? What shift can I make? How can I see this differently? How can I perceive this differently that would make it easier, or that would bring the energies together in such a way that all of a sudden things come together. All of a sudden things click in, and we create an up spiral of things are working out for me kind of vibe, and the universe is conspiring in my favor. So I want you to think about, as we walk through, and take notes today, because I have this. Take notes today. There's gonna be some things I think you're gonna appreciate. Um, if you can find one way, one piece, sometimes a little goes a long way. So it wasn't like he had to pour the entire bucket of salt under those wheels. He had to pour some salt under a couple of his wheels. All right. And then all of a sudden, he was able to catch enough, to get enough going, to get out of feeling and being stuck. And sometimes when we feel like we don't have vibrational momentum, we are feeling stuck, So I'm like, yeah, we don't wake up thinking, boy, I could use some vibrational leverage today. How can I make things easier? We wake up feeling like I'm not moving. I'm stuck. I can't figure this out, you know? So as you guys know, the cusp equation is leverage. And while I'm not going to talk specifically about cusp equation today, we are in the cusp community, and cusp is a place to bring yourself to the cusp of your dreams and desires. There's an energy there. And it also is an acronym for conscious creation, unwavering worthiness, synchronicity, and prosperity consciousness. So for all practical purposes, this is cusp work. This is creating vibrational leverage on the cusp. So I want to make sure right now that you bring yourselves, before we even begin, to this feeling of cuspiness. Like, I'm on the edge. And most of you who come to this space with me are on the edge of a new adventure. You're on the edge of a new becoming. You're on the edge of a journey. You're on the edge of a breakthrough. And if you don't feel like you're there yet, you're here to bring yourself to it consciously, like with intention. And that really is what it means to bring yourself to the cusp. We wait for years to be on the cusp of this breakthrough, but we forget that we can choose to bring ourselves to it, like right now, today, in this here and now. So ignite the feeling, feel what it feels like, y'all, to stand on the cusp of that possibility for your life. And I'm going to say, despite the conditions, despite the way it seems, despite the perception, despite the stuff that's coming up for you that feels like it's a block, feel the feeling of being on the cusp right now, despite the. fill in the blank, despite the. And I know that you have a challenge. We all do right now. We all do. We have a challenge, but that is part of our journey, you know? Abraham, in all of its wisdom, their wisdom, will say you can't know what you do want unless you know what you don't want. And the challenge brings us the contrast, brings us the clarity, brings us the desire, brings us to the work of being in alignment, right? And like I'm going to say, there are many ways to find our alignment, and there are many ways to find ourselves tapping into the power of leverage. So today, there's going to be five points of leverage that I want you by the end of this class with me to write down which point of leverage you're going to lean into. They are subtle, they are philosophical, and they are frequency based. And if you know me, if you bring them together as one frequency, you will create even more leverage. So I love bringing things together. Okay, so I do want to say, where do I want to begin? Where do I want to begin? So, here's the premise, right? My grandfather used to say, and you guys have heard me tell this story potentially at one point or another, but when I was really young, he said to me, um, and we were having a discussion about like going to college and growth and things like that. And he said, Lori, you're going to live those days anyway. You might as well make the best of them. And I was like, yeah. And I was going to college. I was furthering my growth, right? I was going to do it anyway. I was right there with him because I didn't know what else to do. It was like, what am I supposed to do if I don't grow myself? What am I supposed to do if I don't go off to school? I don't even know. And he said, yeah, you're going to live those days anyway. You might as well make the best of them. And so I was like off to college doing my thing. You know, my spiritual journey started around the time I was 24-ish, probably earlier than that. I was into personal growth and development. The spiritual deep dive started around 23, 24, that those final years in college where I was tuning into spirituality and things woo, right? And fast forward, I graduated college. I went to get a master's degree in counseling because it seemed like a good idea, right? Might as well make the best of them. And during that time, I found coaching. And it was like, it was an industry just on the cusp of birthing, flying, right? It was an industry on the cusp. So I jumped into that. I worked for a long time as a counselor and a therapist and a social worker and you name it, and case management, all the things. And I metaphorically grew through that too, right? But fast forward, I started creating coaching and programs and I had individual clients. I started doing groups. I mean, this like whole thing was happening. And in 2014, I had this huge download, you guys, for the Manifestation 100, which I consequently still do today. And those words came flooding back to me. Lori, you're going to live these days anyway. You might as well make the best of them. And as I was creating the M100, I thought to myself, you might as well manifest the best from them. You might as well stay in such profound alignment that you create a kind of vibrational leverage that no matter what the XYZ circumstance, that I rise above that circumstance. Like I can choose to do that. And for all practical purposes, as a light worker, and I know I have lots of light workers in the house, for all practical purposes, light workers, we have some kind of divine responsibility to show up in such powerful vibrational leverage, aka the light that you are, so that you can hold space not only for your own healing, but the healing of others, the healing of the planet, the healing of your family. Some of you aren't doing light work as a business, but you're doing light work right in the midst of your circle. You're being that light. And when you are being the light, you are really tapping into a kind of like vibrational leverage that suddenly we start losing words for. So, why do we want to create this pointed leverage? And why am I giving you these 5 inroads? Well, because I want you to be the light, because I want you to change the world if you so desire, because I want you to create the reality that you want to live, because I want to help support you do that. But at the end of the day, vibrational leverage is I'm going to stand in my power. I'm going to be that light, massively aligned. And so the premise here is, as law of attraction would have it, we live in a magnetic universe. How nice is that? And we have a magnetic center, and not all teachers teach this, but it's my come from. We have a magnetic center that draws forth to you and broadcasts. And it is through that magnetic center, when it is aligned powerfully with leverage, it is through that vibrational magnetic center that we create our reality and we create the highest version of ourselves. It is about the becoming. So, big overarching umbrella, we step onto the cusp of our dreams and desires. And from this place, we live the work, conscious creator, unwavering worthiness, synchronicity, and prosperity consciousness. And today, as I fine tune this with you about creating vibrational leverage, we're going to talk about states of being. And like I said, this came through me a little differently for this masterclass, as it always will. But I want to talk about the state of being that you can choose, because I'm not so much about about hacking the universe. I think that there are things that feel like, "Ooh, what a good hack," right? Like it's these manifestation hacks that everybody talks about. Like, I don't want a hack. I want a transformation. I want more than that. Raise your hand if you do. Tell me if you want more than that, because I can give you some hacks that are fun, right? But I want you to stand in your power. I want you, yes, thanks. Who wants a transformation? I want you to be able to activate a becoming that actually makes a difference. Hi, guys. Awesome. Oh, some of you. Oh, hello, hello. Say hi when you get here, by the way. I want you to have that. That's what I want you to have. So today we're going to talk about states of being, and take notes, and I'm going to put this up for replay. So if you want to just sit and listen to it, consider this an activation, consider this, download, because it's all of that. So yes, I want more than that. So states of being, right? Talk about leverage. Let me give you leverage. 5 points of leverage. And here's what I'm going to do, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay the 5 ones. I'm going to lay the 5 shifts out that we're going to talk about, the 5 states of being that we're going to talk about today. And then we're going to move around a bit. But I want to speak them first, because a lot of times you guys will say to me, what was number 2? And while I don't mind that, this for sure, this conversation will, because one leads to another, there's going to be some blurring. So we're going to talk about states of being. Number 1 is creation. Number 2, grace. Number 3, flow. Number 4, timelessness. It's juicy. And number 5, new beginnings. All of these very juicy. So write these down at the top of your paper. Write this down. States of creation, grace, flow, timelessness, and new beginnings. And by the way, this is cusp equation. These are our points of cusp equation philosophy, just a little bit massaged and a little deeper, right? So I want to give you Like there are more than 5. I mean, as I was writing them down, I was like, okay, we're on like number 15. Because here's the thing, like when you're in that kind of alignment, following vibrational in intelligences, and also when you are standing on the cusp and practicing the cusp equation, I am a conscious creator. I stand in my unwavering worthiness. I activate the field of synchronicity. Prosperity is my birthright and my result. Overarching, you hear the cusp equation here? But when we dive down into the next layers, when we dive down into these layers, we start to say, how can I even flex this muscle a little bit more? These points, these 5 points, are the salt under the wheels, right? When we get really specific and we start chewing on this and you go, oh my gosh. So I want you to play with this. Tell me at the end, I'm going to want you to say, this is the one, this is the one I'm doing. This is the one I'm resting my heart and my attention on. This is the one I'm letting evolve in me. And maybe it'll be all 5, but I want you to find one, because one shift, a little goes a long way. The salt wasn't a lot. A little goes a long way. Sometimes you guys can come in and all of a sudden you come into the work and you're like, I just started and I have all this magic happening in my life. And that's because a little goes a long way when you're in the right frequency and when you're in the right framework and you're bringing it together. So write this down: states of being, creation, grace, flow, timelessness, and new beginnings. These are the ones we're talking about today. These are the ones. Okay. If you need to come back, I will have this recording up sometime in the next 24-ish hours. So I want to talk about creation. So when you look at this, like I'm going to create a state of being called creation, right? When you're going to look at this, I want you to really specifically, for the purposes of this shift today, as a collective, calling this information forth, I want you to lean into a trade. And the trade is this: to get to this state of I create. I want us to look at life, trading life happens to me. And I know why this is so important right now. Life happens to me, to I create my life. I am a conscious creator. I know I just said it. But before you say I already know that, because I know my clients, and I know that you say I already know that, and I love you very much. And I know also that we say, but I already know that point. But here's what I want you to do. In the name of workshopping this, in the name of dropping it into your heart space and letting it be an activation, because the cusp equation activates your magnetic center. It always has, it always will. I'm talking about it a little differently than I did in 2014 and 2007 and 1997. Okay, I'm talking about it just a little differently. But as I review the tapes, literally the tapes, the teleclasses, it's not changed. How I speak it through me and how what you're hearing is now through a different lens, because we've grown so much. You and myself as the facilitator of the energy, right? And honestly, the receiving of the energy, because I still am a student of the work. So, but here's where the trade is. Don't just know this. I implore you to not just know. I want you to get really clear. I am a conscious creator. So for years, I should put it up. I should put it up right there. I have a whiteboard, and I think that whiteboard, I don't know where that whiteboard is actually. Actually, I think I do know what that whiteboard is. Anyway, sidebar. For years on this whiteboard, I'd walk into my office and I had to remind myself, guys, because I know this, I'm a conscious creator, but I walk around in my ego sometimes like life happens to me. because I don't feel in control of certain circumstances. I can only control my circumstances to a degree. And when challenges come, as they will, I can only say, how would I like to shift my perspective of this right now? How would I like to feel about this right now? That whiteboard said, what do you want to create today, goddess? It said, what do you want to create today, goddess? Inferring to myself, a mirror to myself, saying, just remember you're a conscious creator. And when you stay in the continual state, and here's what I want you to hear me say, because I'm going to not say this just one time. I'm going to say this 1,000 times. It is the continual state, more often than not, of creation. I create. It is the continual acknowledgement. I create. It's the continual 100% responsibility model, 1000% empowerment model. No matter what happens to me or appears to happen to me, I create. I get to respond to it as a creator. I get to shift something as a creator. I get to process it as a creator. I get to heal it as a creator. I get to work through it as a creator. But if we do not claim that, and that's why cusp starts with C, and if we don't claim the continual state of creation, all of a sudden life happens to me. And therein lies the great wobble. And I absolutely, I know you know. I know you know. I know you know. And I do too. Okay. But unless we trade life happens to me for seeing it differently and being in the creative state, then life does happen to you. So unless you're doing it consciously, we're doing it unconsciously. We're creating, well, okay, unless you're creating life consciously, it's very easy to slip back in to life doing you, life on default. So I want to bring you to this. Like, do you know that you can stand in the visualization of the way that you would like it, or you can stand in the visualization of that which you observe and it becomes your visualization. Feel me on that? You can stand in the visualization or in the feeling place as if it's done, or you can stand in the observation, which becomes the visualization because what you're observing, you lay down on the field. So I am a conscious creator. What do I want to create today, goddess? But even more so, if you want to be in the light, you want to say, what do I choose to observe today? And if I am observing things that I don't want to see in my life, in this world, in my consciousness, in the scarcity that I'm bringing, in the stories I'm telling, in the narratives, and this and that, and all of it, maybe I should spend 68 seconds in something that neutralizes the observer effect of that which I do not want. I know you know, and I love that we do, because we're here because we know that one thing. I know that. We all gather because we know this one thing, and we trust on some level that we have shifted our energy somewhere, sometime, at some point, and created a result on the other side. And when we talk about leverage, feel that. You cannot create true leverage from life happens to me, and you cannot create true vibrational collapse time leverage from life happens to me, or I'm observing all of this and it's all active in my field. The leverage comes from the ownership of the power. Feel me on this. The leverage comes from the ownership of the power and your choice to continually choose it and stand in it. There is no amount of observing that which we cannot control, bringing it to your complete continual vibration, that will shift anything for you. I want you to be the light. And it is one thing to know what's going on in the world today and say, I see what's going on. I am very aware of what's going on in the world today. And then embodying that, feeling life happens to me instead of I see what's going on in my life, in the world, and others, and how can I take full responsibility as the creator, knowing that there will be contrast and some things I do not like. But it doesn't mean that we don't step into our power. It doesn't mean we go powerless. It means we rise. This is rise energy. I happen to do rise energy very well because I've been through it. I've been through things in my life, and so have you all. So, no matter what the circumstance, we need to ignite this continual state of creation. This is rise energy. We traded life happens to me to I create and I rise. And it's fierce. And sometimes we're not ready to be fierce, and that's okay too. If you need help getting more fierce, I'll help you. Okay. So just feel the shift in that. What are we laying on the field? For ourselves, for life, for others. What are we laying on the field? We can see contrast and be a conscious creator. Despite the circumstance, we rise. And it is an empowered state. There is vibrational leverage here. And sometimes it's goddess energy, it's fierce energy, it's spiritual warrior energy. It's, yep, I'm going to rise. And there is this point at which you can feel the uprising, you can feel the energetic lift in that level of, okay, I maybe can't change everything, but I can change some things. I can shift the energy of some things. I have vibrational leverage just in the way that I think about it. This is salt under my wheels. And it isn't hard because all you have to do is say, what do I want to create today, goddess? So there are 1,000 offshoots that I teach that line up with this state of being, this energy, right? I've taught many courses on calibrate and goddess and unwavering. It's like there's a lot that lives here. But I want you to ask yourself that question. How can I line up with this continual state of creation? It is a state of being that is beautiful and fierce and embodied and empowered. And when you land it in your heart versus just knowing it, it's a complete shift. Okay. I could go on and on for, I don't know, a decade. Okay. Feel me on this. Tell me what's going on in your energy right now. Tell me if this is feeling good, if this is locking in, if this is like shifting you. Because what I want to do is create hope because hope lives in vibrational leverage. My shifts matter, says vibrational leverage. Yes. You feel this? Yeah. I'm doing the M100, you guys, in a different way this session. And every day, the best I can, to the best of my ability, with a couple fumbles, I'm sending out a daily email and I'm having this conversation with my guidance, with myself, with some of you, and definitely shifting good. And I'm telling you, even at that level, which is I'm touching these frequencies and I'm coming into some level of responsibility and practice, has created a massive well of good in my life that I could not even have seen starting in September or whenever we started, September something. So the work works, but you have to get embodied. So easing my resistance, definitely shifting. I feel this. I feel this somewhat connected with future self. Janine, you're 100% correct. 100%. There's so many layers, and I've come to see, like, it's almost like the longer I'm in this work, the harder it is to create linear steps because I can't see it that way anymore. But I still love to, like, it's like everything's a crystal to me, right? Everything is like this. So many facets. but I love making it workable. I love making it livable. I love making it doable. So on your whiteboards, let's make it doable. What do you want to create today, goddess? Something like that. Like it needs to be felt. Okay. All right. I can see we're going to probably go over just a little bit because I have these to get through, but hang with me. So, number two, the next state. The next state is the state of grace. The state of grace, continual state of grace. So, in all of my studies of these principles, in all of my studies and my channelings, really, when I say study, it's kind of like my communication with my guidance over the years. I've just had really profound knowingnesses, I guess, is the best way to describe this about that which I call the law of awe. And the law of awe is, I talk a lot about it through the lens of synchronicity because it's a vibrational match to the magic, the unknown, the reverence. But when we choose a continual state of awe and we activate that frequency, you're going to get lined up in the name of like vibrational leverage and creating that. You're going to start to line up with what? Breadcrumbs, magic carpet rise, synchronicity, books falling off the shelf, serendipity, you name it, awe. Because here's the thing, and this is one little slice of this today, but you manifest not only your dreams and your desires and yourself, but you also manifest the grand unfolding, the synchronistic unfolding. And the embodied state is grace. The embodied state is grace, but it's like awe lives here. Quantum beliefs live here. Like me in all of these metaphysical teachings live in this space of grace. David Rico called this synchronicity is a space of grace, untouched by the ego. So if we took the ego out for a minute, what we have left over is grace. Just feel into that. It's one of the highest states. And absolutely, when you take the ego out, and that's like get out of your own way, this is when synchronicity drops. This is when you can feel that awe and reverence and grace are all kind of in the same vibrational wavelength, bandwidth, energetic frequency. And when you look to trade efforting for synchronicity, that's the trade. When you trade efforting for synchronicity and you embody grace, there is so much vibrational leverage in that, I cannot even tell you. And you probably are like, okay, that's like really big. Grace is big. Like these are not small. When we look at creation, grace, flow, timelessness, and new beginnings, like those are big embodied states. But I want you to be able to make the connection because when you do, I mean, it's divine intelligence. It really is divine intelligence, and it is massively activating for your sacred magnetic center. Grace all by itself. Feel the feeling of grace for a minute. What does it look like? Feel like? What colors do you see? What magic lives in it? What sacredness is in the frequency and the feeling of grace? So when we know, and you know what, I can guarantee you, you probably weren't thinking I was going to spill grace to you today. I know what you're thinking. But I want you to see that there's this like vibrational emotional cascade that looks like grace that is embodied grace, but it looks like me being in awe and it leads to this synchronistic unfolding. So we trade effort for synchronicity, for this embodied state of grace, space of grace, untouched by the ego. And if you can have moments of synchronicity, untouched by your ego, like you're walking along. I had a synchronicity this morning. What was it? See, they fly so quickly, I can't even grab it. Anyway, I was walking and there was a sign and I smiled. And in that moment, I was in grace through that synchronistic moment. And I was like, I drop into that moment like it's leverage gold for me. And it was like I got this message. I wish I could remember it now. How quickly, right? How quickly the things fly. See, that's why I say keep a sync journal. Um, but all of a sudden, I'm like in this space of grace, going, "Thank you, universe, one more, please." And I'm in the now, embodied grace. My heart center went. Shh. It's almost like it's light turned on, and I could feel it from the inside. And I was not separate. And the minute that you are not separate from the field, the minute that you are not separate from your power, the minute that you are not separate from source energy, the minute that you are not separate from your guidance, you have leverage. It seems so cliche these days. I say, follow your synchronicity every single time. Every single time, one right after another, after another, after another. We say this in the credo. We say this in everything I've ever taught, right? But it's so connected to your magnetic center. It's so connected to the cusp equation. It's so connected to the geometry of your heart that it creates a shift and it creates a vibrational leverage. And it makes you literally magnetic and broadcasting the light of who you are to the corners of the universe. These are small shifts. This is salt under the wheel. Small shifts. It sounds big. Small shifts, big gain. Small shifts, big gain. A little goes a long way. A little goes a long way. A little goes a long way. You know, Abe Hicks one time said, you never have to be in 100% alignment. You have to be over the 50% mark, right? You have to be over that 50%. So if you think of your energetics, your thoughts, your beliefs, your belief about yourself, your belief in scarcity or not, or your belief in prosperity, or wherever you're focused, what you're observing, if you are at the 51% lined up with truth, 51% more aligned with love and prosperity and abundance, 51% lined up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Maybe I'm at 50%, 7% now. You create a shift. You create a vibrational point of leverage. So, your point of focus as we look at creation, grace, flow, timelessness, and new beginnings doesn't even have to be perfect. You need to be working on it. You need to be showing up to it. Because why? Because we're conditioned. Because we're conditioned to see and observe and feel like life is happening to us instead of through us. I've almost come, there's this life is happening to you or for you, not to you, right? And yes, life is happening for me, but our egos don't love hearing that. Am I right? Like, we don't love hearing that, especially when everything feels hard or like chaos, or you're massively stuck and can't get out. You're like, I don't even want to hear that life is happening for me because it doesn't feel like it. Tell me that when I'm making all the money that I want to make. Tell me that when I've turned the corner of XYZ circumstance. But I want to land this because this is better language. Life is happening for me versus life is happening through me. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, well, I become the actual lens then. And I am going to have my lens be grace and awe and synchronicity on purpose. I follow my syncs every single time and I create them. I invite them. I ask for them. I do the work so that I am more of a vibrational match to them. And I say in that kind of energy, and it doesn't take long, salt under the wheels to make the shift. So let me dial in. How are you guys feeling? Does this resonate? This is much more of a transmission today than anything. Creation, grace, flow, timelines, and new beginnings. Let's move on to the next one. Tell me how this feels. Who knows what they're taking already? Who knows what they're going to be practicing? I just want to make one more thing, like efforting, right? We're going to trade efforting for synchronicity on that one. Okay. Efforting looks like hard work, struggle, hustle, push, trying, over efforting. My family, by the way, okay, I'll just say one more thing about number state of grace. My beautiful family cannot unhook, so I have to, from you deserve good because of your hard work. You deserve XYZ because you've worked so hard for it. I cannot, no matter what I say, unhook my people from you earned it model, the hard work model. And so every time I hear you've done such hard work, I think to myself, that is one way of looking at it. I have lined up and unfolded and synced myself right to where I am. And I would prefer that it not be equated to my nose against the grindstone. I would prefer to relate it, as I will, to the vibrational float that happens when I create leverage and I dance with this universe and the synchronicities all around me. So, sidebar. So, let's talk about state number 3. Okay, let's talk about state number 3. That's flow. All right, it's the state of flow. So Jacob, when he was in the driveway, he was not in the state of flow until he put the salt under the wheels, right? It's like the salt was the flow and it also created flow. So that's where we start to blur the lines just a little bit. But I want us to trade doing, and I'm going to walk carefully on this. I'm going to trade doing for flowing, because here's the thing. When I am flowing, I am doing, but it's from a different place. Flow state, when that you feel like all of a sudden things are not taking as much time as you expected them to take. Life is unfolding a little bit quicker than you thought. More happened in a shorter time than you thought is flow state. You look at the clock, you've been writing, for example, and all of a sudden you look up and you say, how is it already 5 o'clock? Or you look at the clock and say, how did I get that much done? And it's only 1:30. You're tapping into a kind of flow state. And I want to draw your attention to it. But it's this consciousness to choose flowing instead of doing, even though you will be doing perhaps in your flowing. It's this like opening up to timelessness, which we are actually going to talk about next. So it's kind of like a prep for timelessness right now. But there's overlap, right? There's overlap. So this, yeah, it is a release of efforting. There's the overlap. Absolutely. I also want to say, so when I started, okay, so my business is a personal development program in a can. Everything that I do in my business is a manifestation. But this is not a thing that I built and continue to build and move around. This is not something that I built because I was in doing mode. This is something that I built because I was in flow mode. And flow mode for me is completely being in tune with my intuition. It's watching all of those synchronicities I just talked about. It's chewing on all of the connection that I have and downloading that level of like guidance. My flow state is connected to my guidance, is connected to me making choices about that which I am meant to do. So when we're in flow, it's like giving our synchronicity legs almost. We're up and moving. And so my grandfather also used to say, energy in motion stays in motion, right? He'd always quote that to me. And this is what it is. But we have to trade doing for flowing, for movement, but in a way that is like dancing with this universe. So My intuition is my guide. I wanted to draw some of you guys maybe remember the lesson for those of you that have done the Manifestation 100, but there's a lesson in there called From Figuring It Out to Flowing It Out. So this isn't about being in flow up here. It's about being in flow, connected here. Like allowing the universe to pick you up and carry you kind of flow, but in the same breath, I'm being nudged on which action I'm supposed to even take. Should I put my fingers on the keyboard today? Maybe I will put my fingers on the keyboard. I'll put my fingers on the keyboard. Should I let myself be carried and go for my walk today? Should I turn left at the light today? Should I be in that kind of nudged flow today? And so when you are in a continual state of flow, right? When you're in the state of flow, you have vibrational leverage. And why is that? Because we're not trying to figure it out constantly. The brain doesn't know the fastest path. They think the fastest path between point A and point B is a straight line. Not necessarily. Not on this timeline. Because I'm about to tell you that we're going to take our timeline out of the equation here in a second. The fastest path to anything isn't a straight line. They say so, but not in metaphysics, not on the quantum. And the quantum, we take out the timeline, which let's just get to it. Let's talk about timelessness. I want you to then shift into the state of being called timelessness. This is going to be a little challenging, maybe, maybe. So, how do you shift into timelessness when I am looking at the clock and I'm seeing that it's 11:53 and I talk about an hour ish? I'm clearly having an experience of time, right? But I want us to get up over the experience of time as a tool versus time as like part of our control manual. That's not quite the right word. As time is our that which controls us, right? So I want us to trade your timeline for timeless. So feel into creating vibrational leverage. So if you have a certain relationship with time, it's going to take a long time. I don't know how long it'll take. It'll probably take more time than I think it will. It'll take 6 years. It'll take 10 years. I don't have enough time. I mean, the list goes on and on about your relationship to time and how it impacts. Time disrupts vibrational leverage. Time disrupts vibrational leverage because the minute that you insert your time belief, your relationship with time into your manifestation equation, the minute that you do that, you suddenly have put time on the agenda. Time is not a part of the equation. This isn't cusp T, cusp with time. This is timeless because we want to collapse the timeline so that miracles are available, so that synchronicities can pop through the field, the veil, call it what you like, that the synchronicities can be birthed in divine time, in aligned time, in whatever you want. Maybe it's not time in timelessness. Maybe it's not attached to time at all, is my whole point. But the minute that we put time into the equation, cusp T, we suddenly have put limits on. So if you can imagine for a minute that trading your timeline for the experience of timeless or the experience of no time, if you can trade your timeline, entertain it, feel what it might be even like to embody this. If you can experience no time, just now time, like this, no time, write this down. This is just coming to me. No time equals now time equals my power exists in the now. So if you can remove your time, your relationship with time, all your beliefs about time for just a minute, just suspend it in the air. So imagine you're just going to take all of your beliefs about time, relates to anything that you desire, and you pull it out and you put it in this bubble right here. We're going to capture all my beliefs about time, suspend it in the air right here, all my beliefs about time. We look and say, what's possible now, in the now, in this infinite, limitless, timeless, 0 point energy moment? Do I have to wait or do I have vibrational leverage here? Do I have to wait or do I have vibrational leverage? You guys, I'm going to share with you, like, working on your relationship with time itself. I know that I have an hour, but I don't believe in beating the drum of scarcity consciousness as it relates to my timeline or how long it'll take me to do XYZ. Miracles happen now. They exist. Time gets to collapse now if you choose. That is vibrational leverage. And granted, I always laugh about that. Somewhere in The Secret, they said you don't think about an elephant, like there's a delayed response. Lucky that we don't think and create like that, right? But it's much more complicated than that. It's not about thinking about an elephant and having it show up in your house. There is instant manifestation of your good. Good things do get to happen. There is immediacy in manifestation. The only reason that there isn't is because we don't believe to be so, or we have resistance around it. And it's not bad. It's part of our human journey. It's part of our contrast. It's part of our sharpening. It's part of our sharpening of the saw. It's part of shining that edge of the fractal. So our work needs to be working our relationship. I want to make sure this you trade your timeline, your perceived timeline, for your experience of timelessness. And what we end up with is this continual state, more often than not, 51%, 52%, right? Like, well, you tell me it's going to take you this long, and I can say, if you want, so, if you say so. I had a woman say to me, it's going to take me 6 years to build my business. And I said, well, if you say so, but maybe not. In our human experience, I know it'll take some time, but wouldn't it be fun to collapse time? What if it didn't take as long as you thought? What if it didn't take as long as you believe? So, like feel into this for a minute. Just feel into this. I had a huge download before I even got on here, so I want to make sure that I get this. Okay, so I want you to ask this question. This is the question I heard before I got on with you guys today. So ask yourself this: what if I changed my relationship with time? What if I changed my beliefs about time? What would open up? How much leverage would that create me? Because if you're waiting, or you're not ready, or you have a perception that it's just interference or noise, and you might say, but that's not reality. And I'm like, well, what if we go back to I create creation as my first embodied state for vibrational leverage? Do we get to say so ever? Do we get to? I agree. There is challenge and there is contrast, and there are times when we get stuck and need to put salt under the wheels. I have to put salt under my wheels often because my brain observes life and says, I feel resistance here. I don't like that. But over time, you find more alignment quicker. Like I am not into quick fixes. I am into quickly aligning. And I'm a very quick aligner. I see when I'm out of alignment and I make the adjustment. You know what I mean? My neck hurts. I don't wait to go to the chiropractor. I fix it. I go, make the adjustment. That is our power as a creator. So this is good. Good. Ellen, hi. So, okay. States of being. Feel this. Timelessness. Timelessness. All right. Let's talk about this is really important to me. Um, I have a lot to say about this, but this is really creation on the head of a pin. Um, so we're going to talk about new beginnings. Sounds like you already know what we're going to talk about, right? Like this state of new beginnings. So when I was a kid, and I just thought of this little story as I was preparing for this class. So we're talking about vibrational leverage. So that's context. This is put it in the right like frame right now. When I was a kid, my brothers and I would play kickball out on our 1 acre yard. We had a huge yard, um, wide open field neighborhood at the time. You know, not very many trees because it hadn't grown up yet. Looks completely different today. We just drove through it. But I drove by the house because my uncle lives there. That was the house I grew up in. And we drove by the front of the house. Um, and there's this huge field. And I just remember that was the field we played kickball in. And my brothers would roll the kickball and roll the kickball and roll the kickball. And it was, whatever it was, hours and hours of kickball. And if we didn't pitch right, the kicker got to say do over if the pitch wasn't good enough. So if the pitch sucked, the kicker said do over, do over. And it was like, we get to start again. We get to start again without any weight, without any care. We just started again. It was a do over. That pitch wasn't what I wanted it to be. And so we get to do it over again. And so I have this, I've lived in this notion of like infinite do overs because it's vibrational leverage, really. It's vibrational leverage. And when I stay in, it's not like repeated failure, it's new beginning, new beginning. We begin anew. When? How about now? Now, 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 in this moment, 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 there is a constant, continual unfolding of the new beginning. People take the new year or mid year or this, and that makes sense, right? Or the end of the school year, the beginning of the school year, yada, yada, yada. And it is true, the beginning of the 100 days, the end of the 100 days, that is our human experience. But in the name of vibrational leverage, embodied new beginnings right now, am I willing to begin now? How about now? How about now? Do you know how many moments go by every single day? How many moments? I mean, I know that we can say how many minutes, but you can see this is a timeless reflection. So I'm bridging on the last timelessness into new beginnings. But every moment, moment to moment, moment to moment, moment to moment is a new beginning. And you're going to live these days anyway. We might as well make the best of them. But it's not like we wait for it. We say, how about now? We are constantly going back to, I don't have power and I don't have leverage because we make up stories and beliefs. It's just part of our humanity, right? About how much power and how much leverage we have. But I guarantee you, and I'm here to hold up this divine mirror today, there is an action that you can take. There is a shift that you can make, maybe on the last four topics, maybe on this one. There is a choice of thought, of belief, of behavior, of action, of habit, vibrational habit, to show up or not, here in the now. Your life is created in the now. You don't vibrate in the past. You don't vibrate in the future. Your power is only here as you vibrate right now, as you are activated right now. Your frequency is in the now, which means that you have an opportunity to be in alignment with the Taurus field of who you really are in the now, in the now, in the now, in the now, now. Every moment is a new beginning, is a vibrational do-over now. And honestly, I can't tell you how many times I say to myself, I teach this stuff and I'm the student and the teacher of the work. I have to say, I can choose to be in my power and have this new beginning right now. What do I want that to look like? How do I want to think about this? What lens am I going to actually view this as? Every moment is an opportunity, holds a new beginning now. Do you feel the vibrational leverage in that? And if we actually took advantage of the ever unfolding, ever evolving new beginnings of the now. And here's the thing, I don't need you to be pushing or efforting. I want you to be activating this power. It isn't about doing more, it's about plugging into the power source that says, I'm evolving right now. Every now is a new beginning. What that means is that I am out of my own way on all of this. Every moment is a new beginning. And yes, I want you to see how you're wasting your new beginnings, because we do as humans. And someone sometimes needs to be like willing to be in the tough love and say, if you want vibrational leverage, how are you showing up in the now? Because every now is a new beginning. What do you want? And how do you want to line up with that? You have a chance for a new beginning now. You cannot grow a tree unless you plant the seed in the now, and then plant another, and then plant another. Like, what if you looked at your decisions? What if you looked at your feelings? What if you looked at your emotions? What if you looked at your belief systems? What if you looked at your relationship with yourself and time and life and your power? What if you looked at that and said, can I plant a seed now? What kind of vibrational seed would I plant if I planted it in this new beginning, in this now? There is an endless, infinite amount of new beginnings through this day. How about I pick just one? And so I'm a little bit like, let's a little tough love, right? It's like there's a little tough love in that. But it's like I have to sometimes with myself get so ridiculously, I have to state the obvious, because the obvious is low hanging fruit. What shift can I make now to create vibrational leverage now? Not a year from now, not 2 years from now, not. I'm growing now. Seeds planted. If you wanted to, you could plant a seed today, a shift today. And it doesn't take that much. It's salt under your wheels, but you have to do it today, right now, in the now. Because if you're waiting for the future and not planting the seed, like if I waited to throw the salt under the car, we'd be sitting there for a couple of days or until the snow melts, right? And you can do that too. You can wait for conditions to change, or you can say, I dance with this field in the now. Every moment is a new beginning. And so I'm going to literally be willing to make the trade of waiting to beginning now, right? So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, because there's oh yeah, actually the guidance was specific. It wasn't just trade waiting, it was trade stopping. We're going to trade stopping for the unfolding, moment to moment, and knowing that this very ripe, primed in the now energy is available to you to dance with, to seed. I mean, it's a little bit like, well, I know that, but I'm going to caution you. All of us, so many of us have been longtime seekers. Few of you here too are new. When you come into this group, I say, have you been on this journey for a long time, or have you been a long time seeker? Like, what's your story? So many of you have been on a journey for a really long time. We know this stuff. We know this, but we don't stay the same. It's because we don't make the movement. Laura, you're going to live those days anyway. You might as well make the best of them. And then energy in motion stays in motion. So it means like make the best of them, show up to it. I was seated well as a child for these things, and they made a difference for me. And some things I wasn't seated so well. It took me a very long time to understand my divine worthiness. It took me a very long time to develop the kind of like courage that came from, my speaking my truth. There's a lot that I've had to grow through, but some of these shifts are profound and simple and there for you to grab. Tell me in the chat like how this is feeling. I'm going to keep riffing on this for a minute. I'm going to make sure that I give you some questions, but tell me in the chat like what are you taking away? Which one are you landing on? And what opened something up for you? Like I want to know, does this open something up for you? Because despite popular opinion, it's not so much what you do, it's how you feel, think, believe before you do. It's the shift before the do. The do is sort of like the final, the icing on the cake, but it's not like it doesn't bring the cake. So tell me what this opens up for you. I want to review this really quick, but am I willing to begin now? And again, how about now? How about now? How about now? Am I willing to keep flowing, moving, dancing? Am I willing to choose myself, my growth, my becoming? Remembering that in the now, there's this fresh unfolding of infinite energy available for you to dance with. You're standing. I mean, one of the things I like to say is, we have to remember who we are, where we are, and what time it is. We have to remember who we are. We are divine crystalline beings. We have to remember where we are, standing on the now, on this beautiful divine crystalline slab of consciousness. And we have to remember what time it is. It's now. It's timeless. And that's what we're talking about. These states of being, I'm going to say them again in case you guys came late, but these states of being, creation, grace, flow, timelessness, and honoring of the new beginning, moment to moment, moment to moment, moment to moment. These states embodied activate your magnetic center, by the way. They're salt under the wheels of your vibrational leverage. They're salt under the wheels of the vibrational leverage. And they're not all of the vibrational leverage because there's all kinds of inroads as we unpack the crystal that we are, the divine crystalline, powerful creator that we are. But this is where I was guided today to share this with you today. And I hope you take one thing and say, I'm going to seed my life now with this embodied energy in the name of vibrational leverage because I am a powerful creator. Some of you are doing light work in the world. Some of you are seekers. Some of you are conscious entrepreneurs making impact. And so we're showing up to ourselves first to create a ripple effect across the planet. Across the planet. These are divine intelligences. They are like sacred spaces to step into continually. Imagine what would happen if you lived here. Continual embodied state. I'm going to read some of your comments. Janine says, okay, so all of it resonates, but I think I need to work on timelessness and grace. Awesome. Grace and time. Okay, Patricia, grace and timelessness opened a magical portal of knowing and doing now. Awesome. I'm glad you're excited. Charlotte, hi. Awesome. It is all interconnected. It is. We'll reflect and meditate on these, being shown to write what unites all of these within myself. Now feels pretty strong. Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, when you start talking about universal law, when you start talking about the geometry of spirituality, the geometry of creation, the emotional geometry, when you start looking at this through the lens of equations and stacks and sequences and bringing the laws together, we start opening up a lot of things that feel like this leads to the next, leads to the next. It's not so linear. All of a sudden, it starts looking like this. But that's who we are. We're not simple. We're complex, beautiful, divine human beings. And what we're doing here is we're working on becoming more and more in alignment with our power than we ever have. So we reach, we stretch, and we look at In a nutshell, how can I stand in my power as a creator? How can I step into that space of grace untouched by the ego? How can I activate my most divine flow? How can I redefine my relationship with time so that I can get out of my own way and collapse time as I know it? Because I can. And how can I be in the continual unfolding of the new beginning, moment to moment, in the name of being and accessing and tapping into the power of the universal leverage, the vibrational leverage that is available to me. I choose to see that now. So this is a bit of a deep dive class, right? Bit of a transmission. So if all you do is kind of receive this energy and feel this energy, that's okay. Sometimes like trying to figure it out, um, first we push against it because it feels like it gets heady. But I want you just to rest your attention on those 5 things, just those 5 things, and be the expression of them, be the embodiment of them. Let yourself feel them. It's much more, I mean, we can talk about blocks and we can talk about challenges and we can talk about scarcity consciousness and we can talk about the things that show up to be cleared in our life. But what I do know is that, stepping into your power and then dealing with all the stuff is the recipe. Sometimes we want to deal with all the stuff and then try to get to our power. And I think you can't solve a problem, quote unquote, from the energy from which it's created. So that's where we rise above. We get embodied in this divine intelligence. We get embodied on the cusp, right? I'm a conscious creator. I stand in my unwavering worthiness. I activate the field of synchronicity and prosperity as my birthright and my result. And you can see how these states of being embody that too. They're just fine tuned. So it's a fine tuning process of the energies. I like to bring language and I like to bring sometimes poetic language to the shift so that we can not only see who we are, but so that we can feel the courage we need to feel to make the change, right? To step into the next version of ourselves. So, okay, you guys, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I hope this was helpful. Good. Ellen, thank you. I'm glad this is helpful. Good, good, good. I want this to open up some possibility. I want us to feel hopeful. I want us to feel like, okay, if there's one thing I can change, it's myself. And that feels good. And that will require some shifts, but I'm up for it. I'm willing. You're welcome. You're welcome, you guys. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. As always, there are some good things coming for those of you that want to dive a little deeper. I'll be posting on the group very soon. And if you're called, please answer the call. So I will talk to you very soon. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Good. Awesome. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. All right, you guys. All right. I will see you next time. Until then, I'll see you on the forum, on the Cusp community, and we will continue to rock it out. Okay. Bye for now.